Good evening and welcome to Wild Ginger Running with a Scotney takeover. We're well into March now. How are we doing, Jen?
Yeah, all right.
Excellent.
Still here.
Still here. You always kind of look a bit shell-shocked when we start going live, as if like...
I think it's just because I never do anything to say what. I thought you were like, what are you up to?
But this is scripted. You're so good at acting this bit. We do actually script this bit completely. It's well scripted, and Jen is just kind of playing along. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the sunshine. It's been an amazing sunny afternoon here in the Peak District. Spring is really starting to feel like it's going around the corner, which is quite nice, isn't it? And a couple more weeks and the clocks change. Who's our guest we've got tonight?
We've got Moire O'Sullivan, who I feel could have made more effort with the outfit for St. Patrick's Day there.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I just thought you'd be annoyed that I'm wearing Salomon and not Montaigne.
No, we're not brandist.
We'll put the photos over that so you can see that.
I've got a Montaigne hoodie on anyway, so I'm well on brand, so it's okay. My logo out trumps yours. But yeah, happy. Do we say happy St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you meant to say it with more of a slur, as if you've been drinking all day.
So yeah. Let me go and get my pint of Guinness and get my.
And you're
the Irish stereotype.
Yeah. Mighty dumb. Yes. No, we're all stone cold sober because we're all locked down at home. So there you go.
So you're not been kind of rushing down, getting all your kind of bevies in then, and your whiskies and your Guinnesses ready? No.
No, I'm a professional athlete.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. You
I have to stay sober for this. So, yes, no, we'll celebrate afterwards.
So normally you would by this time on St. Patrick's Day be kind of floored by
it depends. Not really. No.
We're only teasing. We sound.
I'm too old for that.
Well, that is a problem, isn't it? You do get to a certain age, and drinking and hangovers are just not a pleasant thing at all. Yeah. But anyway, so let's introduce our guest properly. And once an hour we're offended.
That was completely unprofessional. Am I supposed to do the bio?
Yes. Anyway, we have Moire O'Sullivan with us. Where are you at the moment, Moire?
I'm in Rostrevor in Northern Ireland. And as I showed you just there, the mountains are over there.
Oh my goodness, what a view. You're missing that if you're listening on the podcast, but you have the mountains out of your window.
Yeah, no, I can get onto the Mourne Way in 5 minutes, so I chose my place of residence well.
Fantastic, yeah. It's always good to get some good trails from your doorstep, isn't it? And to be able to get straight out running is so important. But anyway, so we interrupted.
I was just going to say that you're a mountain runner and adventure racer and now, author of, is it 4 books that you've written?
Yeah, this is my 4th. Yeah. I don't know how this happened. My degree's in chemistry. And,
oh, really?
And my master's is in development and management. I used to work for NGOs in Kenya and Cambodia and Nepal. So I don't know where the writing came, but it just kind of happened, yeah.
So which was the first book that you started writing?
So the first book I wrote is called Mud, Sweat and Tears. And I started mountain running in 2006. I'd just come back from Kenya and I moved to Dublin with a new job. I had no kind of social life or friends. Everything was new. So I was invited along to a mountain race and I absolutely hated it and absolutely loved it in equal measure, I think. So I got really addicted and I ended up doing something called the Wicklow Round. It's basically the Bob Graham Round equivalent in the Wicklow Mountains just south of Dublin. And I went out in 2008 and it was meant to be 26 mountains. I got around 24 and then kind of collapsed. So it was a bit of a letdown and I was quite disappointed with myself. And then I went back out the next year and because nobody else was really thought it was a good idea to go do something like that, I became the first person to do the Wicklow Round. And I wrote the book because I just got so much out of doing the round. I just grew an awful lot as a person. I discovered lots of things like my strengths, my weaknesses. And people were saying, oh God, it must be so horrible. I was like, no. I actually grew and discovered an awful lot, and it was amazing to go out and spend a whole day in the mountains. So I wrote the book about that. And then I just kind of put it there, self-published, and then 6 years later, I had my first child in 2013, and I must admit, my maternal clock never really ticked. So I struggled. I must say I struggled, and for me, I turned to actually because I was living in a place with not many mountains. I ended up doing one-day adventure races, which are like off-road triathlons. They're like mountain running, road biking, and kayaking. They're quite big over here in Ireland. So I went and trained for those. And so I wrote the book Bump, Bike and Baby, Mummy Goes Adventure Racing.
We are putting these books up as you speak.
And so the book was really just trying to say, trying to see how you juggle pregnancy and being a new mom and your change in identity, which for me was quite a shock to the system. And I wanted to share that kind of the book that I would have liked to read before getting pregnant, about how you can still be an athlete but also have kids. And then my husband Pete asked me to write a book about my dog, so that's kind of just a bit random.
So what was why did you have a book about the dog? Because I was just saying that, a book about Sherlock would not be that exciting read because he doesn't do anything.
The dog has had a more interesting life than most human beings I know.
And I have confession, when I was doing a bit of research and I was kind of doing the Googling and the Hound from Hanoi came up, I was like wondering, is there another Moire O'Sullivan who's written kind of like, to me it was just a bit of a kind of left out of a traffic light. So I was like, I had to kind of click on this and do a bit more research. I was like, really? So you got running around a Wicklow, you got adventure racing, and then this dog, it just...
Why not?
Why not?
We picked him up in Vietnam. We were living in Vietnam at the time, and Pete just loved the dog so much that I got a job in Nepal. We had to move the dog to Nepal, and then move to Cambodia, and then try and get him back to the UK. And the dog just, like, in a way, also the dog was. This is before myself and Pete got married. Kind of made our family. It was like, it was kind of the test to see if we could actually stay together. I think you know how it is. So so I wrote that book, and then in 2018, Pete got unwell. It was like June, July in 2018, and he was diagnosed with depression. And within 6 months, 2 days after Christmas, 2018, he took his own life. And I've been picking the pieces up ever since. So that's just over 2 years now. And I decided that all those books I've written before, there's always been, hang on, this is kind of the narrative, but this is my experience. So with mountain running, the joys of mountain running, a lot of people were telling me how bad it was. But suicide, I never really understood what it would mean to a family. And I know there was no roadmap to say, okay, this is how you get through it. So again, like Bump, Bike and Baby, I wrote the book to say, okay, hopefully, if anybody is going through loss or if anybody is going through a suicide in the family, these are the things that help me. And for me, in the book, it really is about doing something I love, which is actually being in the mountains and being around people who love and support me, which will turn out to be the mountain community. And the book as well, you still see me, yeah?
Yeah.
The book as well, I know whenever somebody is in a bad place and they have suicidal thoughts, the last thing they have the energy to do is pick up a book. But I hope maybe somebody will pick it up and they will read it and say, I never want to put my loved ones through something like that, ever. Because suicide, the ripple effects, you just can't describe it. We will live with this for the rest of our lives. His family, his friends, his work colleagues, they still are torn apart. And that's what the book is really trying to add to that story about why suicide is such a bad idea, but also for those who actually suffer through it, what can you actually do to get back on, move forwards with your life.
Yeah, and one of the themes that came out in the book was also how it wasn't spoken about in terms of the depression either and the suicide. So it came as a shock to a lot of people, didn't it, that who hadn't known that your husband was ill in any way. So do you think that that's kind of changing at all now, or does it feel the same as when you wrote the book and were going through that?
I know. See, when Pete got sick, he did not want anybody to know. He was petrified. So even if I brought the children to the childminder and I was maybe a little bit late because I was talking with Pete, or there was something about medical that I had to help him with, he would always say, "Don't tell the childminder that I'm ill." So no, he just didn't want anybody to know. And then when I did let people into the inner circle, and I said, "Listen, he's not well, he's got depression," and they would bring it up in conversation, like a friend said, "God, are you eating diet or something? You're losing a lot of weight." And that was Pete's opportunity to say, "Well, actually, no, I'm not well." He went, "Yeah, no, diet, you're right." So he felt like he couldn't talk about it. And ultimately, because he's a very, very intelligent person, like he ran a bank at one stage in his life. And so his brain was everything. And basically the brain stopped working. And I think one of the reasons why I wrote the book is because a friend of mine was at the funeral and he was at the wake. And the wake is a big thing in Ireland. And he afterwards said to me, "Nobody said that he had committed suicide. Everyone was just saying it's just a terrible loss, terrible tragedy." And then I said, but how did people not know? And so I was a little bit angry about that, to be honest, because when I lived in Kenya, about 20 years ago, and the first week I arrived, there was a funeral in the local church, and there was a coffin there with a 21-year-old lady inside, and on top there was a shoebox with her baby, and the two of them had died of AIDS. And people were like, terrible tragedy. And there was a clear case of there was a stigma around AIDS. And then there was a lot of programs in Kenya about trying to break that stigma. And now, we look back and say, God, I can't believe people were dying of AIDS. People were talking about it. By talking about it, they realized that there was behaviors that could be changed, or there could be medication developed. And the solution was found. And there's a part of me that wants this book to date. I want in 20 years' time for people to go, because I think 2 years is too short. I think it hasn't changed that much. But this is part of the conversation of, hopefully in 20 years, people say, I can't believe people who have mental illness didn't feel like they could talk about it. Can you believe that? Can you believe that people actually who have mental illness, they were able to think that the world would be a better place without them, and that they believed it, and they took themselves out of the world because of that belief. I hope we get to that situation where we think, God, that's crazy. Yeah. But that's what's happening.
Yeah, and so how long did it take? So with the other books are very kind of, it's still personal, but there's a kind of a different aspect to them. And obviously with A Quarter Glass of Milk, it's a very kind of raw personal story. How long did it take to kind of come up with the idea to kind of I need to? So obviously there's that desire to kind of get people to, like you say, be having these conversations and being able to have the opportunity to talk about the impact of suicide and feeling suicidal. So how did the germ or the seed for the book come about?
Knowing me, it probably came on a run, It's like it happened with a lot of books. I just kind of running along going, I should write this down. And it's like that, I must admit, the way, even whenever I decided to contact, I knew I had somebody who was we were mutual Twitter followers. This is the way books get written, guys. Mutual Twitter followers.
This is how we met on Twitter.
No.
Yeah. Random guys messaging me.
So I just said, oh, I wonder who she is. So I clicked on her bio, and she said she was an editor at one of Ireland's the largest Irish independent publisher. And then I saw that she was also a runner. I'm like, okay. So I had 140 words of what the book should be about, and I said, are you interested? I just sent her a direct message, and she just said, can you write more? Can you give me a bit more? And it ended up being like that. So we actually we agreed with the publisher. I was only 3/4 written by the time we actually got around to agreeing. And she was just going, yeah, no, this sounds good. This sounds about right. And I started the book just before first lockdown, so February 2020. And maybe thank God lockdown happened, because book is 80,000 words. Lockdown, 1,000 words a day, got it written in 3 months. and the thing is, it was hugely therapeutic and hugely cathartic to write the book, because I think when you go through grief, like every morning, whether I liked it or not, I would wake up and there'd be just all these thoughts running around, regardless, everything from, the boys were growing up, my children were 3 and 5 when Pete took his life. How do I make the decision about them? What am I going to do about the estate? What am I going to do about where we're living? And should I have said that to him whenever he was this why he got ill? It was everything. And in a way, by writing the book down, all those words were put down onto paper. And then all of a sudden, I didn't have to think about them anymore. My brain was like, well, they're down on paper, so if you ever need to remember them, just go back to the book. And I've been very healed by writing that book. And also, like I said, the boys were 3 and 5 when Pete died. And all my books actually have Pete in them in some shape or form. And I'm actually really glad I've written them, because in a way, when they're older, I'm going to go, hey guys, we were together for 10 years. This is what happened in our 10 years. And they will always have that. And I am so glad I've written them down for that, because my memories will fade.
I can imagine that process of writing the book being kind of really therapeutic and personal. But how about kind of this publicizing the book? Like, how has that felt? Because I'm imagining that your personal journey is now kind of out into the world, and you've got people like us just wanting to ask you about it and talk about our own experiences and how the book related. So how has the publicizing been?
It's lovely, because I don't know, anybody who's had a loss, if you kind of talk about them, and maybe if the loss was a difficult loss, if I say to somebody in daily conversation, Pete used to say that, and it might slip out, and they would go, oh God, she's talking about her dead husband. And they don't know what to say, and there's this blankness. Whilst, because of the book, I get to just wax lyrical about Pete, and people want to know about him, and it's just so lovely. I get to talk about him and remember him in a lovely way. So
okay, so it's not been like particularly difficult for like the last few weeks since the book's come out at all?
No, and also I think what's been hard about the book coming out is that I've had a lot of messages from people who've read the book, and they've gone, yeah, me too, I've had a hard loss. Me too, I've suffered with mental health, and I wanted to do what Pete did. And what's broken my heart, especially like in the funeral as well, I was quite in shock, so I was functioning, but people would come up and say, my cousin, my brother, my sister, my friend, that's what I find hard, is that it's just the problems everywhere. And that is what is and maybe that level of annoyance and frustration and anger is why I've written the book, so that I can be one part in that cog that can keep that conversation going, so that we can fix this problem, because it shouldn't happen.
Yeah, as you say, that becomes a bit of a, people almost feel embarrassed at times, don't they? If you kind of suddenly mentioning somebody who's passed away. I know, like, Jen, you talk very openly about your dad who passed away of cancer, and we kind of still joke about it, and it's encouraging, and it's not like, oh no, it's, you know.
Yeah, but I do find that when you have suffered bereavements, because I lost my brother almost straight after my dad, and so many people just don't know what to say to you, so they don't say anything, and that can make it even more isolating. And I found, which I think was a similar experience to you, that actually the people that reached out to me weren't my closest friends. They were friends that had suffered some sort of loss themselves, and understood that even you can't say something to magically take the pain away. You can just say, hi, how are you, or just really be there for somebody.
I thought the best, so I spent a lot of time listening to podcasts about grief, and the best advice I think you can give to somebody who wants to support someone who's grieving is show up, listen, don't fix.
Yeah.
Like literally show up. Just, it was the people who literally came to my door and said, do you want me to take the kids to the park? Do you want to come for a coffee? And I've been told by a doctor friend who lives locally, he said, say yes to everything. Even if you don't want to, just say yes, because you need to get out. And so people just showing up, it was very understandable. People said, if you need anything, let me know. And I was sitting there going, I don't know what I need. I don't have the energy to ask you. So it is the most lovely, kind, well-meaning thing, but it really sucks as advice. So just show up, and and equally, if I didn't want somebody to think, and I could say no. Listen and don't fix. Don't tell them it'll be better. The best people who just said to me, I'd be crying, and they go, yeah, this sucks. And I went, oh yeah, no, you understand, absolutely. And that was freeing to absolutely be right where I was and saying, that sounds hard. Tell me more. Advice of fixing me, it wasn't going to happen, because it would be, I would say, yeah, but you don't know. And, so show up, listen, don't fix. And actually a friend of mine in the back, I didn't want to give any advice in the book. I just wanted to be, this is the story. And a friend said, can you just give a wee bit of advice about what worked for you? Just a wee bit. And that's the last chapter, is what I've learned about grief. And hopefully someone picks something up out of that can help them with a friend who might be experiencing loss.
I like the way that you just kind of let yourself try something and be like, okay, that didn't make me feel worse, so that was good. Or actually, I don't want to do that, so no, I'm not going to do that. It really was just finding your own way.
And that's where what I found very interesting was that for me, running was a godsend. Whenever I came back to Ireland, I joined the mountain running community. I found friends. I found a places that I love in the outdoors. I found myself. So running was there for me, and that's why Mud, Sweat and Tears is so. I love running. And then Bump Bike and Baby was very much after having the babies. Running. Kids are 24/7. They if somebody tells you something different, it's incorrect. So if I was getting an hour to go out for a run, that was everything. Like it was freedom. There was no crying. I didn't have to think about nappies or as we say in Ireland, milk and shite. Didn't have to think about it. It was, running was there. But then whenever Pete was unwell and when he died, running was not there for me. I went for a run whenever we were waiting for the funeral, and I had this massive panic attack, because what happened was the process of running meant that everything that was in my mind, everything I had suppressed in terms of feelings and emotions and worries, they all just came out, and they went, oh God, no, you're a widow now, you're a single mother now, no, what are you going to do? Why did this happen? And I literally bent over double and couldn't breathe. And so that first year, this is what I also want to challenge, is that sometimes say, mental health, you go in the outdoors, you go running, and it doesn't work for some people. So for me as a runner, running was useless. So I actually started walking, and I did my mountain leader at that time. And for me, walking with people and being with people who were just mountain people, not necessarily runners, was really healing and really therapeutic. So I had to find that out. I had to trial and error that. Go for the run, say it's not working. Actually, I need to be doing some walking.
And how quick did you discover that? I mean, because, a lot of times we use running as a way of defining. You'd been very successful as a runner. And so you're in a situation where you've lost Pete, and then you're finding running isn't, like you say, this amazing therapy experience, as we so often say, you know, how running is so good for our mental health. How did that realization come about, and how did it feel when you said, actually, I've got to stop running, or running's not being helpful for me?
Kind of heartbroken. Yeah. The thing that you love so much is where the place where you're going to feel the most angry, sad, abandoned, everything. So I kind of then found, even I could go into the mountains on my own and do navigation, somehow counting paces from that 1, 2 stopped my brain from thinking about the other things. And then I happened upon a girl called Rachie, and you know, she was a kayaker and just generally to be an outdoor person, outdoor instructor and a rope person, and she just lost her mom. And we would walk into the mountains and walk off it, and you know, we kind of go, yeah, today's shit, isn't it? Yeah, great. So let's do that belay.
I loved it when you just had that amazing fit of laughter on the belay. I thought there was going to be some serious accident or something, and then you're like, somebody had shouted that they got a wedgie, and you were just laughing. But realizing that was was that the first time you've been able to just laugh and kind of be happy?
You know, but the thing is, because I think also when I'm going collect the kids, or whenever I turn up at a shop, you feel like my husband just died. I'm not allowed to experience any happiness, any joy, any laughter. But out in the mountains, you can just absolutely, you know, you can scream if you want, or you can burst yourself giggling, and nobody's going to judge you. And I think it was great to have that freedom. So the outdoors in itself, just to be a place where a respite from being the hat of the widow and the mum and single mom and the person who should be pitied. Nobody's pitying me out there. I was kick ass with all the ropes, you know.
And the wedgie.
And the wedgie.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the mountains on your doorstep, because I've never been to the Mourne Mountains, but you made them sound so amazing.
Oh, they're amazing, the Mourne Mountains.
Beautiful.
What's this wall that you kept having to climb over? I couldn't work that out. It sounded all a bit Game of Thrones or something.
Do you know, if they built that wall nowadays, the Leave No Trace guys would be furious. It goes back 100 years ago, where they were trying to get water catchment areas sealed off from animals to have the water for Belfast industry. And so, yeah, it was this 36-kilometre wall, which is 8 foot high, which goes over, I think, about 18 of the peaks, so the major peaks, and just basically encases the reservoirs which are there. So yeah, it's a formidable wall.
It seemed to crop up on most of the runs and walks that you were doing.
But it's great to protect against the wind there, but then sometimes the path's not always on the right side. It does.
Well, yeah.
Oh, that's okay. So no, and it's just they're massive granite structures, and so really you do get a serious climbs and serious descents on the eastern side. The western side, where I am, it's a bit more boggy and everything, and undulating. So there's a lovely variety. And what I love about the mountains in Ireland is there's nobody in there. So whenever I go to the Lake District, I'm like, where are all these people from?
In fact, that's a Lake District behind you. So if you're listening to us on the podcast, you won't be able to see this, unfortunately. But if you're watching this live, yeah, that's the little buffy.
I was thinking that was just the one above Buttermere, and then I was like, Buttermere. But maybe I'm just showing my ignorance because I don't know the Mourne Mountains.
He bought me this in the Lake District whenever I was pregnant with my first kid, and that's the thing, you know. Sometimes whenever people pass away, what do you do with the photos? Do you leave them out so you're constantly seeing them, or do you put them away, or what do you do? So for me, we have a wall with all the pictures of Pete, but I have lots of pictures he bought me. So I look at that and I think, Pete bought me that. That was a good time. I remember that, and I think that's cool. That's good enough, you know. So yeah, I have plenty of pictures of the Mournes, but they're elsewhere.
That's the window, isn't it?
Yeah,
just look out the window.
They're fantastic. They're fantastic. You know, I think a lot of the first British Championship race is often in the Mournes, and I think we often help you out with a bit of mist just to give us a bit of advantage. But yeah, that was a good excuse to get the you guys over here.
Does the Mourne Mountain Marathon still take place?
Yes. Yeah, no, I did it last September. Yeah, it's a lovely event because again, it's quite a small event, and yeah, the planners are kind of evil.
I was going to say, I'm not sure I want to be up against you with all your knowledge. I'd be still trying to get over the wall.
Well, there is a lot of it is very kind of tussocky in place. But I mean, I was working out there in 1995 as an outdoor instructor, and the map was pretty. Have they updated the map? Is there a new map of the Mourne Mountains now?
We call that the map of lies.
That is very Game of Thrones. We've got a big wall, and we've got a map which was initially mapped in 1920, I think. With some very...
Yeah, it's quite I must admit, thank you to Harvey's for coming over, and they've mapped it. But can somebody explain to me why Harvey's has 15 meters for each contour? Like, we still don't understand that. We're like 15, 30, 45, 60. Why?
It's probably to do with the scale of the map, the 1 in 40. If it was kind of 5 or 10 metres, it would just be so noisy. Too much information.
I can do 10. Vote for 10. I can do 10, 20, 30, 40. Vote for 10. Okay.
but talking about maps, and so, yeah, I mean, you said you were a chemist, and then you kind of got into, you started writing books about the running, but then also in the book you kind of discovered the walking, and that also then leads you into a new kind of career, a new opportunity arises as well. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, no, it was kind of the idea about starting Happy Out Adventures was happening even when people was ill, because I realised, he wasn't able to work. I needed to still be there for him and for our 3 and 5 year old, and be able to do some sort of job where I didn't really hate it, something I liked, so that I could actually have some respite. So so as soon as when Pete passed, I just accelerated that I had to start. And it was really the idea that I just saw mountain runners just running in really random directions.
Hang on, there's a story about you following them in the random direction on one of the races.
So it was really I've been very lucky in that, I don't know, I've seen Joe Faulkner on some of the previous interviews and chat, and he was one of the people and other individuals who taught me how to navigate, and I kind of wanted to give that back, to be able to just for the sake of a couple of hours, really 5-6 hours, you can get the basics of this is a map, this is a contour, this is a compass. Don't try to decide which side of that's a wall, that's which side of the wall I want to be on. And to get people, so I started just bringing out mountain runners who just wanted to learn the basics of navigation. And I love it because you can they come down back to the car park, and you can see them all just like, I can't wait to go and explore. That excitement, I'm like jealous that they get to go on all these new adventures and explore things just because they've got a couple of skills. So that's been was doing that, and then I was helping people also prepare for the Mourne Mountain Marathon, because I've done it quite a number of times and learned a couple of tricks. And so I do more advanced courses. But then I had people who were coming up to me and saying, like, they live local, the Mournes are there, and like, I want to bring my kids in there, but I have no idea where to go. I don't know what they're meant to wear. I don't know, because you see a lot of people, I don't know about you over in England, but you'll have people, Donner's the highest mountain in Northern Ireland, and you'll see people literally dragging their 5-year-old up there in flip-flops. And you're like, well done, you've officially put your child off the outdoors forever. So, trying to just bring out parents and say, okay, maybe this type of route which doesn't cross any contours might be a better route to take, or maybe break down the route so that you're kind of having less ambitious targets. And then, because I've done the Dennis Rankin Round is the equivalent of Bob Graham, but in the Mournes. I've done it twice, even though I really should have only done it once, but I've done it twice. And
You weren't doing a Mimi Anderson where you were trying to do it like 2 times fast. Right?
Once it gets past 24 hours, I get grumpy. Okay, so there we just draw the line. So I bring people out just to help them recce the routes, because I just get, I got an awful lot from doing the Dennis Rankin Round. I want to give back, but also there's part of me is like, well, I'm not a doctor. I can't fix mental health. And I saw whenever Pete got sick how down he went. And I was like, how is he ever going to get back up? I honestly did wonder, because every time the medication came through, the doctor said, okay, we'll see in 6 weeks if it works. And I'm like, 6 weeks? That's forever. So I feel like I can't solve that, but prevention might be better than cure. And maybe if I can help people have a couple of skills to get them out into the mountains so they can have the physical and mental benefits, well, that's a winner. Absolutely. And maybe we just don't have people getting sick in the first place. That would be the ideal situation,
And is that why it's called Happy Outdoors? To kind of
adventures.
That's what we say in Ireland. How are you? Geez, I'm happy out.
Right.
So, and I didn't know what I wanted to do initially, because I was thinking about doing orienteering as well, because I really like orienteering. But it was just so broad, and I just wanted to see what people wanted, and people just want simple skills. And like I've sometimes happy enough I've had people come over from Scotland, and they don't know the Mournes, and I'm happy to go for a run with them, shoot the breeze,
That's not a bad job, is it?
No, absolutely no way. It's lovely, and I meet the most fantastic people. So I really can't complain, So I'm happy out.
And so how well did you know the Mournes before you moved to your current position? And did your first Dennis Rankin Round? Did you know them before then?
I didn't know. Well, I kind of come up to do I was living in Dublin. I came up to do a couple of races. Okay. But I knew the Mournes were stunning. And I'm originally from Northern Ireland anyway. So it was easy enough to... I'm actually... You ever heard of Dairy Girls? Channel 4? Dairy Girls?
Yeah.
That's my school. I get flashbacks. I get PTSD watching. But that's the other side of the country. So Mournes is near Belfast. So so I always knew they were beautiful, and because myself and people were wondering where we should live, and I said I don't care where we live as long as there's mountains. So we thought, and we came to compromise with the Mournes. But yeah, so the great thing about the rounds is it's a brilliant way to get to know a set of mountains. Like I am just itching to go over to the Bog Graham and Charlie Ramsey and Paddy Buckley, because it's just you get to visit them all, So the Dennis Rankin, it was bringing me to some mountains I'd never been to and never really want to go back to either.
It sounds some kind of boggy pathless ones in your description of them. They were
mad Cossacks up to here. But and I really enjoy doing the recce's for the rounds, because normally you go, you're doing A to B's, so you hang out with some people and stuff, go for a nice run. The day itself kind of sucks because it's kind of sore with blisters and stuff. But yeah, I really like rounds. I think, and I had a conversation with somebody recently about what's your next race, and the funny thing is, the reality is life is a bit stressful, not just COVID, but I just got to in a household where you'd hope to have 2 parents. I've got, just myself looking after everything. So it's a bit stressful. And so for me, racing is just one too many stresses. I just find going out and equally, I feel like I can't push myself like I could have before Pete died, because I have this thought of, oh, but if I push myself, I'll absolutely collapse across the line. I still have to go home and look after the kids, and I can't be banjaxed. Do you know what banjaxed means? Yeah,
I've heard banjaxed. Yeah. Well, no, completely like.
So yeah, I can't be banjaxed.
Excellent.
So I can't. So in a way,
you could call it bollocks if you want to. We could, They'll bleep it out on the podcast. But
I'm sure Claire never had any swearing. The amount of swearing that we got from Mimi Anderson.
Well, she set a new trend.
Claire will never forgive you. So
I've only got 2 more weeks left anyway. So.
And then you're getting fired, but you just don't realise it. So the thing about the rounds is you even if you don't get under 24, sure, all it means is you don't get your rename on the webpage. Sure, look, it doesn't matter. So it's just a nice way of just but okay, the Dennis Rankin, first time I did it solo. And I kind of I was going for the record, and it was all kind of, I was really pushing myself, and kind of the wheels came off, and that's fine. But then whenever, here in Ireland, whenever it's a year after somebody's passing, there's normally an anniversary mass. And I was just like, I don't feel like that's me remembering him. I don't feel like that's a big thing. So at the time, a couple of months before Pete's first anniversary, Paul Tierney, who's Irish and, good lad, he went off and did the Wainwrights, and he raised money for mental health in memory of Chris Sterling. Also, I had contact with Shelley Gordon, and she had done the spine in memory of her partner who passed away by suicide. And I just thought, you know something? I'd like to go for a long run with some friends. And that's my way of remembering Pete. And the more I thought about it, nobody had really done a winter round. Winter rounds are, rounds are new here, so winter rounds are even newer. And I just thought, he passed away the 27th of December. So it is, winter rounds are normally any time from the 1st of December to the end of February. So I said, okay, well, why don't I go for a run around that time? There's something called Darkness into Light here, which is very popular, which is 5 kilometres of people starting to run before dawn, and then they finish in the light. And it's thousands of people do this every year in Ireland, where they remember people who've been affected by mental health issues and suicide. And I just kind of went 5 kilometres, 90 kilometres. Yeah, it's kind of like Darkness into Light, like on steroids. So I just was like, and then I just didn't want to do it alone. So I asked all my friends to come along. And it's funny because I put up a post on the orienteering, my local Lagan Valley orienteering site, because orienteers, if you tell them where to be at a certain time, they always turn up. And when you ask them to guide, they know where they're going. It's a win-win. Yeah. So I asked, a lot of the orienteers, and people said, yeah, no problem. Where do you want us? How can we help? And I said, listen, there's nothing really more powerful that I can do except run in the dark and remember the struggles Pete went through. And I put it up in the post, but when we actually did the run, there was no hoo-ha. We all kind of just met in the car because, right, should we go, lads?
Yeah, I think you were like, oh, should I say a speech? No, I don't need to do that. Like, no, let's just go.
Yeah. So we did the winter round. And I said to them, I don't mind. You just go out. If we get under 24, it's not a big deal. But I suppose there was a little bit of a go on, get under 24. And what I found just so amazing was when I did my summer round, beautiful skies and light and perfect conditions. I did it in 21 hours 24. And then when we did the winter round, darkness, mist, wind, with my friends, it was 21 hours 24. We did exactly the same time. And I put that down to, being with those people. But I think that is a strong, strong message about mental health, is that if you go alone, it's a lot harder. And there are people who want to, if you reach out, like I reached out and said, will you come for a run with me? People want to help. People will come out at 2:00 in the morning and give you a cup of tea on the side of the mountain. They will do that, but only if you ask. And when you run together, you are stronger. You do go faster. You do get through things. And I think that, it was only after I finished, I was like, wow, that was kind of powerful. Yeah.
I love that you had somebody from your mountain leader assessment or from your mountain leader course that was crewing as well and bossing everyone around.
Yeah, there was.
It kind of seemed like there were a few different areas of your life coming together there.
Yeah, there was people who I was like, who are you? That's fine. Let's go. The last group of guys, and they were just brilliant, and I mean, there was someone from Mountain Rescue Liam standing there at Harris Gap, and it was dark, pitch dark, and it was freezing cold, and he was standing there in shorts. And I was like, excuse me,
am I hallucinating? Yeah.
No, it was shorts, made a party thing.
So we've got a photo. I'm not sure if it's the start or the finish, but you're under the Donald Park. Yeah, what's the significance of the arch? Wow, we need to zoom in and see. I mean, no, you all look quite clean and fresh, so I'd probably say.
I was so petrified. But once we started getting going, it was, good time. Good.
What were you petrified of? Was it the run? Was it all these people coming out, or just kind of keeping it together for that journey?
Well, I know it's going to hurt. Like, rounds hurt, and there's so many things that can go wrong. So it's like, and the things that you're worried about going wrong, they're not going to go wrong. It's going to be something else that's going to go wrong. And so, nerves and everything. And I find it difficult to run in the dark. Personally, I'm quite scared of the dark. Like, that sounds like, put on your big girl pants, I sometimes think, but I do find it quite scary. But it's like tackling the things that you're harder, which is the hardest. I think that's what helps people who've been in the mountains. I think the mountains teach us resilience. I really, really believe that. I think our lives are very not being tried, but it's quite easy. Like, having been in developing countries, I can see we have enough food, we have security, we don't have to walk for water. We don't have to think about whether we can afford school fees. We have a relatively easy life. So I think sometimes then, we need hard things. And so for us, when we live in a developed world, sometimes it's helpful to go into the mountains to get that difficulty. And I think because the mountains, I think I'm an exceptionally fragile person. I think I get affected by things quite easily. So, but I know I'm resilient, and I think I've learned that, because if you're in the mountains, you can't just give up and go, I can't go on. I just sit down and that's it. You have to get back up. And I think the mountains have taught me to get back up. And I'm very fortunate that I've had the mountains to teach me that really valuable lesson.
I think we've got a photo of you in the light. I think you're wearing quite a lot more clothes than other people, so this feels like it could be quite late on in the round.
Is this the rather large photo? What's going to cover?
Oh no, it was no, not the race one. Sorry, we've put the wrong one up.
No,
it was the one they're all in a group together.
I just don't like it.
We're showing all the photos now.
That's fine. Because I was messaging Carol Morgan. I was like, I hate the cold. What should I wear? And she's like, gloves, lots of gloves, lots of sealskin socks. Yeah. So I had help from.
You're all up at a trig point. I'm not sure if that was from the round. Is that
Steve Martin? Yeah. I love all my jackets. Just get warm. It's like having a little sauna inside. In the middle of the round. I think the mountains are just, I'm really glad I found them and they found me, and I'm glad about how much they've taught me. And sometimes I wonder, is this what's helped me get through? What the mountains have taught me, and the fact that I love them so much, and I've got a place that I can go for, like, in a way. What's brilliant as well, we always talk about mindfulness, but I think the mountains make me mindful. I can't think about the future, and I can't think about the past. I have to think now of, where am I going? What am I eating? What am I drinking? Am I safe? That's all I can think about. So all the past and forward stuff, I don't have time for. And that's actually, I find that's mindfulness, and the mountains make you do that,
Yeah, you're very present in that moment, aren't you? Is that now, you can't be kind of always thinking about other stuff. So many outdoor activities, we just cause us to be very much in that now. So same with running and climbing, and even though I know you don't like darkness, but caving as well. That's very much when you're in that moment. Everything else almost just melts away, doesn't it? But
I wonder if normal life, if you don't get that chance to be in the moment, does your brain never get a break?
Well, I think this is what, I mean, maybe going off topic, but I mean, this is one of the reasons why there's such a fascination and interest in meditation and mindfulness now, but also why I think there's such an increase in things like trail running and ultra marathon running, because people are seeking those opportunities to be disconnected and to have that experience of being in the now. And it's a very easy way of kind of going into it. If a lot of people tend to be put off things like meditation and mindfulness because of the image of it, and it's thinking of sitting there quietly for an hour or so. We're actually just starting off 5-10 minutes can be an amazing way, or a very good way of just connecting with it and learning that beginning of a practice. But it's not just about having an empty mind, it's just having that single focus. But yeah, that is one of the amazing things of being in the mountains. And even when it's howling wind or beautiful sunshine, you've got those amazing views, you're very much like, I'm just in this environment, I'm in this at this point. And I
think especially on amazing views, what I like about the Mournes in particular is that I know they're millions of years old, and here's like, they were there before me, they're going to be there when I'm finished. Really, I don't really matter, in the scale of things. And I think we sometimes need to feel small, and like, honestly, it doesn't really matter. I remember I did the Camino de Santiago, and I had like a lot of world questions, like I was making big decisions in life, and I was like, okay, I'll do the Camino and I'll work out all the answers. And then I got to the end of the Camino and said, God, those questions are rubbish, weren't they? That was it. Sometimes you need to be told, will you just wise up, will you?
So in the end of... Oh, you're right.
Sorry.
We'll try not to overrun too much tonight, like with Mimi.
I was just going to ask...
I think it's laptop. It's okay.
Ask, like, at the end of the book, we leave you kind of a year on, but obviously that was a year ago. So I was just seeing how things had progressed in the last year. Was it as up and down as that first year, or were things starting to feel a little bit more almost kind of settled? But that feels like the wrong word. But
no, I think you're right to ask the question, because it's like what the doctor said to me. Henry said, grief is a wound, and in the best case scenario, you're just going to have a big scar. So the question is whether are you going to put the work in now to get that wound to heal, or are you going to just let it fester and fester and get worse? So so the best case scenario, do I have a scar now? That's the question. And it's funny. When I wrote the book, I finished writing it in May 2020, and I put it aside. I purposely did that because when you write, if you keep on reading it, you don't see any of the things you have to change. So I reread it in December. So that's 4 months ago for the final. And I did a whole read through, and I was like, God, I forgot it was like that way. I forgot. I didn't recognize myself, and I think that's a good sign that I've moved on in my understanding, and I'm different now. I'm different from what I was by the end of the book, which is nice. But also what's been, people have often said, is it terrible that the kids have losing their fathers for so young? But actually, I think it's been good that I had the kids, because they forced me to move. I was very lucky. I was sent on this beautiful thing about, you don't never move on. You never move on for somebody you love. You move forward with them. And I think the kids made me move forward, because they are growing up. They are becoming young men. So I had to move with them. I had to move forward. But we'll always move forward with Pete. And that's I think is healthy. And the kids have been great. Like, they're so funny. So the latest one was that my littlest one, who's now 5, he said to me yesterday, did you know that with leprechauns, you can have 4 wishes? And I'm like, I've never heard that. Like, I don't know where he got it. And I'm like, okay. And then he said, so one of my wishes is that Daddy comes back. Oh. And I was like, oh. So I was like, okay. So leprechauns don't exist. And then the bigger one was like, what do you mean there's no crock of gold at the end of the rainbow? And you're just like, he's coming at you at all. And you don't know whether to cry or laugh, or you just go with it, you know. And so they've been great just to ground you, and we move together. We're very close knit now, you know.
Do you drag them up the mountains in flip-flops as well?
No.
No. Sturdy boots.
We go orienteering.
Oh,
and I think orienteering is a fantastic. So also for me, you know, when I said I get quite stressed about racing, you know, the orienteering is great that you've got 2 minutes staggered starts and somebody's before us and you've no idea if they're ahead of you or behind you. So I find that not stressful. So that's been my go-to sport. And what I'll do is I'll bring them on their yellow course, the easiest course, and then an orienteer will just keep an eye on them, and I'll go out for my course. So that's been the healthiest thing for us to all get a bit of exercise.
It's like a little treasure hunt for kids. Well, and big kids as well.
But you know, I think it's about, you know, what you're saying about you try some things and you try other things, and you know, I tried doing a hill walk in memory of Pete, and I was like, this isn't working for me. I did the orienteering did, you know, running didn't work, walking did. So, you know, and I think that's where it's not prescriptive, the book. It's very much, you know, I tried this, that worked, that didn't work. You know, I joke about it at the start, but you know, the first 2 months, drinking and swearing was my...
To be honest, if you carried on that for 2 years, we always wouldn't have judged you at all. Like, that was fine.
You know, whatever worked.
It would have made this interview far more interesting.
Next time, the beer's on me.
I could tell you some stories about the ferry boat inn down in Newcastle.
No. Athletic club guys are scandalous.
Is it still there? Is it a ferry?
Oh, absolutely. They slaughter us all. Jesus, they're fast, those lads.
Right. Yeah. No, it's some wild drinking nights I had down in in Newcastle.
Talk about on the mountains. I only see them passing. I can't keep up with them on the drinking.
and the proper Guinness, it floors me. But better than the rubbish you say you have in England.
Marcus, before you came on, he said, "Oh, you've got proper Guinness." I said, "No, in England the Guinness is shite. We just have normal Guinness."
It's normal Guinness. Excellent, fantastic. Oh, it's been brilliant chatting to you this evening. There's been no tears.
I know that was. I was like, I'm gonna cry.
No.
Too far. I was like, but it's fine.
You know, like I've seen you guys on social media and winning the spine and winning the Dragon's Back, and I was just like, oh my god, I am meeting ultra running royalty. And then I saw Meghan and Harry online, and I was like, oh no, I can't call them royalty because that's not, I don't think that's anymore. It is. I am, you know, I don't think you realize you inspire us to keep going. You know, I love your photographs on Twitter. Can I gush now?
Well, we'll just let you know that we're moving to LA shortly. And,
I can't take the press intrusion.
But no, thank you guys. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's just so lovely. You know.
No, well, you've inspired me as well, because I'm doing my mountain leader assessment in a few months, and then you were taking it so seriously in the book and very solemnly, and I'm like, actually, I need to I'm going to do what Moira done and take some people out to teach them navigation, because I've just been like, whatever.
That's a perfect excuse for you to come to the Mournes, because you have to have 3 mountain ranges. So the peak testing won't be enough. You have to have 3. So the Mournes, come.
Excellent.
And then before we our egos get too inflated and we can't leave the living room, we apologise. Sherlock hasn't joined us this evening. He's been asleep on the other sofa and snoring. Just as we come to a close, as somebody who's taken people into the hills and into the mountains, and we've had quite a few people joining us live on YouTube have been enjoying us. So thanks, Guy, Vinny. Good luck to that guy who is going to be running his first 50k ultra marathon in Guildford. It says brackets hilly. Don't know. Guildford isn't known for hilly, but I'm sure. But good luck, Guy. But he's raising for charity on the 3rd of April, so good luck for that. But maybe for those who aren't into the mountains, and maybe trail runners are running around a local park and look at pictures like we got in the background there of the mountains, what would be a very simple piece of advice that you would maybe give to somebody who's thinking, right, I want to go out in the mountains? What would be kind of a good look we could end on, a little bit of kind of advice for somebody who maybe want to head out to mountains?
Go orienteering. Go orienteering, honestly, because you have the yellow course, which is 2 kilometers, and it's all on paths, and then you've a progression through all the 6 or 7 courses you have on, and you get into a group, and there's events, so you have a reason to go, and it's really family friendly. So it's not just you as an individual. If you have your partner, or like we bring our dog, it's. And then somewhere in forests and somewhere in mountains, and it gets you that, and if you get lost, you can just go back where you came and walk home. So I think orienteering is super for getting you staging you into getting into mountain running.
Brilliant, excellent. That is not the answer I expected, but that's a fantastic one. No, it's brilliant, perfect. No, I completely endorse that. I haven't been an orienteer myself, and that's how I kind of got into the mountains and mountain marathons. So yeah. Fully think that's a fantastic idea for people. So, well, thank you for joining us so much this evening. The
running guy says it's that Guildford's hilly compared to where he lives. So maybe we shouldn't laugh.
So before we offend everybody who lives down south, and we end up everybody just suddenly untuning or unsubscribing. Thank you so much. If people want to get a copy of the book,
if you're in Ireland, you can pick it up out of Eason's. If you're on UK mainland, Amazon as usual, or Waterstones, or whatever. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Congratulations for it. And
thank you.
Thank you. I just thought it was really, really honest and a really powerful account. It's great.
Thanks so much. You're really, really kind.
And thank you for coming on this evening and sharing it with us as well, and keeping the boys.
I'm busy with Minecraft. They've loved it. They're like, keep talking, we get to play.
Brilliant parent, and not being drunk and swearing on St. Patrick's Day. So thank you very much for doing that, and hopefully we will see you in the mountains. We will come across it. It's been a while since I've been over to the Mournes, but it's an amazing place. So thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Moira.
Take care. Brilliant, there we go. Fantastic. That was an amazing, really enjoyable chat this evening. Who have we...
in the world, and I think we've a lot to be happy for, so I hope
No, that was fine. It was more that I was warning you if I did cry. Why? But I haven't cried. That's fine.
Brilliant.
That's fine.
Fantastic. So who have we got on next week?
So next week we're all about park run. Complete change from
park
mountains.
Run. So we're going from mountains to park run.
And we've got Eileen Jones coming on about talking about her new book, which are all the stories around park
book.
Run.
This is going to be like book club. Sorry, but we've got so much kind of book stuff. Next week you're telling me Damien Hall's got a book coming out as well.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Right. Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've enjoyed being with us this evening and want to keep in touch with what's happening on the YouTube channel, click the subscribe button down below. If you've been listening to us on podcasts while you've been out for a run, or just however you listen to your podcast, thank you for taking us along. And if you've enjoyed it, please give us a review down below. It helps us in the ratings. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. Stay safe and we'll catch you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.